Hey, Rebel Rouser. I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7 by 7. We're at episode number 1636, and today we're going to start our year in review series where we check in on what happened in 2018 with the variety of Star Wars media that have come out over the past 12 months. And today we're going to start by looking at games and apps and virtual reality experiences, sort of the all other content, if you will, in the Star Wars galaxy. And I guess the big one that I thought I was going to be including in this was Secrets of the Empire, which is the in-person experience that's created by The Void and written by David S. Goyer. And, turns out that it actually came out in December of 2017 in Florida, and it wasn't until January that it came out in Anaheim. So can't quite cover that one. I will say, though, that things that ILMxLAB, the Experience Lab, have had a hand in creating, actually 2018 does have something, that Reflections video, which, if you recall that one, it was a little short film, like barely a minute, where two First Order stormtroopers are talking about how all the elevators are down, or something happened and Kylo Ren destroyed one, and how difficult that was. And Captain Phasma overhears their conversation, and they're like, whoever did this or whoever's in charge of this place should be shipped off to Hoth or something like that. So there's a neat little original trilogy source check there. And they're like, oh, do you think she heard us? Right. So a fun little video nonetheless. And it was designed to, as I understand it, demonstrate experimental techniques with ray tracing, which has to do with how light is rendered in video game engines. And it was supposed to have been created in real time and deals with reflective surfaces and that sort of thing. And so it was supposed to be pretty impressive from what I understand. So congratulations to XLab and also Epic Games and NVIDIA that partnered with them on that whole project. And then as far as the main video game platforms that are happening right now, there's of course Battlefront II, and they had two new seasons come out, which included the Han Solo season and the Clone Wars season. And Clone Wars updates are still continuing. The whole season hasn't played out yet, but they've already introduced a number of new characters. And, it's kind of interesting to point out that the Han Solo season debuted in May, and the Clone Wars season debuted in August. And so the Clone Wars, of course, having their big announcement at SDCC in July, where they said that, hey, we're going to do a final 7th season and all that. So when we do our 2019 preview for video games, I have a feeling we're probably going to have something to say about that and about how the Battlefront 2 roadmap is going to be affected by what's coming out in 2019. Meanwhile, over at the Jedi Challenges virtual reality game, most of their updates actually happened in 2018, because the game itself was released in November of 2017. So their last Jedi content came out in January of 2018, I believe it was. They had a ships update that happened in November. They had their big dark side battles update that happened in November. And they had their local lightsaber versus mode come out, where you could actually play against somebody who was around 6 feet away or so, like that. And when they did their Dark Side expansion, they came out with the Kylo Ren lightsaber, and you could play as Kylo Ren and fight Yoda and all these other folks. So yeah, pretty big year for that expansion too. So it seems like things are going pretty well with that whole Lenovo project, which, hey, good for them. That's great. And of course, there were updates to other games as well, but as far as like the major headliners, I think those were probably the big two, Battlefront 2 and Jedi Challenges. And, I play Galaxy of Heroes. I think that's probably the only game in the Star Wars realm that I'm actively playing right now. And so they had a whole bunch of characters come out over the course of the year, and a whole bunch of new ships too. But, that sort of thing, like, that's fun necessarily, but it doesn't necessarily advance the experience of Star Wars in the same way that Battlefront 2 new downloadable content does, and the way that the Jedi Challenges situation does. They're just so immersive, comparatively speaking. So, as much fun as I have with Galaxy of Heroes from time to time, yeah, I understand it's just not the same thing. And that's pretty much it for big Star Wars video gaming and virtual reality and other media experiences, headline news, except for one thing, I guess, that was sort of the headline that wasn't, basically. And I'll tell you about that in a second. First, though, I do just want to say that I hope you're subscribing to the show if you're not already, wherever you like to get it. And I hope you'll also consider supporting this daily dose of Star Wars joy by joining the community at patreon.com/SW7x7. And so that last bit of headline news that wasn't is that probably this year we would have heard more about the game that had been in development at Visceral Games before it was shut down in October of 2017 by EA. That was the sort of scoundrels in space heist kind of open world situation that Amy Hennig was working on and has either been shelved indefinitely or is under a great overhaul, and we are not going to see anything from it for another couple of years at least. Not really sure, but this would have been the year that we would have learned more about it and possibly seen some of our first gameplay footage, but alas, it is not to be. So we'll have to take a look at what 2019 is going to hold for us in the video gaming front, which we will do during the first week of January here on Star Wars 7x7. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's episode. So thank you, as always, for joining me for it. And, of course, may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2018 Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it!